The topic of this video is describe an exciting book you have read. And you should say what book it was, what it was about, why you read this book, and explain why you found it exciting. I'm pleased you've asked me this question because I'm an avid reader. The book I'd like to talk about is Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. It was written by J.K. Rowling. I'm not entirely sure when, but I guess it was in the last decade. The book is the first novel in a series, and these novels have been turned into movies. The protagonist is Harry Potter, and the other main characters in the book are Hermione and Ron. The plot is basically about a boy who learns on his 11th birthday that he is the orphan son of two powerful wizards and possesses unique magical powers of his own. He is taken away from his life as an unwanted child to become a student at Hogwarts, an English boarding school for wizards. There he meets several other boarders who become his closest allies and help him to discover the truth about his parents' mysterious deaths. The reason why I read this book was that it was recommended to me by my best friend. We tend to have similar taste in literature. Therefore, I was eager to read it after her recommendation. Personally, I found it an incredibly delightful book to read, and I loved the twist at the end. In addition, I enjoyed the setting of the book in a magical school. The author clearly has a vivid imagination, and I highly recommend it. So let's take a look at this model answer. I've started it with I'm pleased you've asked me this question because it's always useful to have lots of different ways to start your Task 2 topic. An avid reader. This is a great way to describe somebody who loves reading, an avid reader. When you're talking about books, you need to use the passive. It was written by. Just learn this phrase in case you get the book topic. Now, many students try to remember exactly when something happened. Don't. You're not going to get extra points for remembering it was 2007, for example. Use this phrase. I'm not entirely sure when. And you could use that in lots of other topics. For example, when describing an experience. In IELTS speaking, you often need to use I think. You can use lots of other words like I guess, I suppose, I reckon. And again, with times, don't be so specific. In the last decade sounds more complex. Now, a book, a fiction book, is also called a novel. And when you have a number of books or a number of TV programs, we call this a series. Here's another good example of using the passive, has been turned into. Now, in a book, film, TV program, you have a protagonist, and this is the main character. The plot, also in a film or in a TV program, the plot is the story. What happens? If you could write in one sentence what happens, that's the plot. Orphaned means his parents have died. He's taken away. Again, great use of passive here. A boarding school, this might be useful for talking about your own school if you went to a boarding school. This is a school where you sleep and don't come home in the evenings. People who do this are called boarders. Closest allies are like his closest friends, but they support him. They're his allies, his supporters. You need to talk about why you read the book. The reason why I read this book was that it was recommended. This is very useful for lots of topics. And again, it's using the passive, which the IELTS examiner will like. Talked about this in other videos using tend to. It's a very easy verb to use. Just use it with the verb and to mean usually. Literature just means books and reading. Remember to use as many discourse markers as you can. I was eager to. This is another way of saying I was keen to. I wanted to. Personally, lots of occasions where you could use this adverb. Incredibly delightful. This means wonderful, lovely. You're always going to need adjectives to describe things. So make sure you know lots of adjectives such as delightful, enchanting, breathtaking, and try to use them with words like incredibly, extremely. Twist can be used both in books and in films and in TV programmes. And it's like a turn where something unexpected happens. In addition, furthermore, moreover, additionally. The setting is where the book is set, the place where it is set. The author, another word for writer. And for talking about people, it doesn't just have to be an author or writer. Somebody you are talking about, you could use this word, vivid imagination. And this means they have a very colourful imagination. And you recommend something. If you're talking about places, you might, talking about your hometown, you might need to think about using recommend. But to make it a bit more complex, we use highly recommend. You could also say strongly recommend. Now, what I highly recommend you do now is write your own answer to this topic using the keywords that I have highlighted in this answer. Thanks for watching.